Hey guys and girls, it's Panda Bum, and tonight we're doing something a little different. I'm going to be starting a segment where we read real ghost stories online. So what we're going to do is basically jump on Google, search for real ghost stories, and then see what type of ghost stories are out there and read it and see if we get scared. So let's just jump straight into it. For anyone with loud upstairs neighbors. My sister and I were staying at an old historic hotel in the middle of nowhere in Montana. The building had been in use since the 1800s. My sister loves this place and has frequented it many times over the years. I was kept up all night by someone pacing around on the hardwood floors in the room above. Drove me crazy. In the morning, I asked my sister how she could sleep through it all, and she told me that the upstairs of the building used to be a ballroom, but now it's carpeted and empty. The hotel staff confirmed that nobody was up there, and furthermore, if they were, I wouldn't have heard heels on the hardwood floor. Oh, creepy! It's more, I don't know, because you think about it, the old buildings, right, always creaks. No matter how, whatever you do to it, it always creaks. And it generally creaks when it's wind, floorboards moving, expanding and stuff like that. So it could be just the person was hearing stuff. So is that a real ghost story? It's a real story. Were there ghosts? I don't know, That's my take. I don't know what you guys think. Let's see what this other one is. I was at a slumber party in 8th grade with a few friends when we decided stupidly to have a seance in her unfurnished basement. Guys, don't do that. White people, man, this is what I've said this before. Asian people. So the Thais, Japanese, Chinese, whatever, every one of their ghost stories, when they see or hear something freaky, they get the F out of there. They don't hang around. But for some reason, and I'm just making an assumption as white people, it sounds like it, a seance, they just decide to do Ouija boards, seances, call on the dead, witchcraft and all that crap. Don't play around with anything that could potentially hurt you. Or worse, it doesn't hurt you immediately, but then gives you 10 years of bad luck or 20 years of bad luck. Why would you want that? You don't want that. Just stay away from that stuff. We were having fun and giggling as we were trying to figure out who to summon, and someone suggested Jack the Ripper. Okay, if you're actually really gonna do something like this, the last person you want is Jack the Bloody Ripper. This guy is a serial killer from the 1800s. Oh my god, anyways, and I immediately got a pit in my stomach. No, I spoke up. We shouldn't summon something evil. At least this person's a bit smart. That's right, caught a man voice from the other side of the cellar. There were no boys or men there. We were home alone. Another girl and myself heard it. I will never be the same again. Okay, now in that situation, and if you were truly alone, I think it's actually scarier that it wasn't a ghost. Because you guys, 8th grade, how old is that? 13 years old, 14 years old? A bunch of girls, I would assume. And no boys. And there was a man's voice. What the hell was that guy doing there? Was he peeping? Dude, you need to call the cops. That's what you need to do. That's not a ghost. You know what this segment should be? Is this a ghost story or just not a ghost story, you gotta start calling it out. Anyways, Demon in the Dark. My family traveled to the south of France to stay in a cottage owned by someone my dad worked with. The owners visited occasionally, but that summer it was free, and we had 10 days booked in there. After a long 2 days on the road, we drove down a steep driveway towards a secluded mill cottage with the water wheel sat static along the stone house. There was a deep cellar with stone stairs down under the wheel next to the house, and a small river circled the place. We went into the house and chose rooms, but being sat down in a small copse? What the hell is that word? It's a thicket of trees. Grove of small trees. Okay. Sat down next to some small trees. The house was draught and cold from lack of use. We settled in and turned all of the heating on, yet the house remained cold and felt damp. The first night we had set a fire in the living room and listened to a couple of audiobooks before my sister and I went to sleep. My parents stayed up a little longer, then went to bed. Around midnight, they both woke up at exactly the same time, and the door to their bedroom was opening slowly. At first, they thought it was my sister, until they saw a large dark silhouette of a man framed in the doorway, standing stock still, just looking in their direction as if appraising them. After a short period, the shape turned and started to move as if satisfied and disappeared. They looked at each other, but didn't speak, and both went back to sleep. That doesn't sound like normal kids to me. How old were they? They didn't really say, but I believe they would be, even if they're an adult, that definitely doesn't make sense. If they're kids, they would be screaming. I know I would be. That's not normal. The next morning, the house felt warm and dry, and sunlight was back through the windows as if something had lifted and accepted them. They spoke the next day, and both agreed that although they were skeptics, it could not have been anything other than something supernatural in the doorway, deciding their worth. I don't know, man. Could it not have just been their bloody dad checking if they were sleeping? Fake. You know what the segment should be? Real or fake ghost stories. Full hearts, wet hands. Ooh, nasty. So I used to live at this address. You know, just take that out. If you're not going to give me the address, who cares? I used to live at this place. You know, the houses were built to house the people building the railway in Derby in the 1800s. I only found this out after I left the house, thankfully. It was a creepy house, really, foreboding, and every time I washed my hair in the shower, every time I opened my eyes, I expected something to be there. Well, that's the problem. When you start thinking or feeling something creepy, you imagine stuff, like, which could be way worse than anything else. Your imagination is your enemy. So, let's continue. Anyway, I came back from an afternoon lecture one afternoon. Opened the door, walked up to the first flight of stairs and saw a wet handprint on the floor. A really wet handprint. I was a bit like, strange. Indeed it is. At that point I didn't freak out, it was just out of the ordinary. So I walked up to see my housemate, Ed. I opened the door and he was on the phone to his girlfriend. Not crying, but massively in distress. That was when the penny dropped. He told me that he was walking up the stairs earlier carrying a glass of water. He felt something cold go through him, almost push, caused him to drop the water. He picked up the glass and ran upstairs to his room. The water falling out of the glass had created a handprint on the floor, literally a handprint. Every digit was in proportion. I did freak out at that moment as I had put two and two together. I told everyone to get out of the house, which we did, but then sheepishly returned after a fever session around another friend's house. It was genuinely terrifying. Might not sound like it was but it was, haha, and all true. If someone offered me $50 to go back and spend the night there by myself, despite the fact I lived there for a year with almost no accident, I wouldn't. There was something there that didn't want 6 college guys there. Was it like the landlord? I don't know. Unfortunately, I didn't have a photo of the handprint. This was in 2012, prior to the culture of taking a photo of selfie of literally everything. I wish I had though. I don't know. This could be a maybe. It's like a maybe. Like 2012. iPhone was invented, right? Let me check. The iPhone was done in 2010. I think people were taking selfies or stuff of everything by 2012, right? Anyways, house for sale, currently occupied. When I was a kid, we lived in a haunted house. Strange things happened all the time. For example, my dad and I were alone in the kitchen one day making a snack. We put a plate on the kitchen counter, walked away to the fridge. We got what we wanted out of the fridge, turned around to walk back to the counter, and the plate flew off the kitchen counter and broke on the floor. My dad tried to calm me by saying the plate must have blown off the counter. But let's face it, the plate was near the edge of the counter. There were no windows or doors open, and no one else was home. Weird. Well, yeah, a plate's pretty damn heavy, and there's no way wind can blow it. I'm assuming it's ceramic plate, that is, right? I also woke up to an old lady standing by the bed. Oh, creepy. On more than one occasion, I told myself I was dreaming. Come on, man, that's creepy. I don't care if that is a ghost or just a person, that is creepy. Imagine waking up, you're looking at the foot of your bed, and someone's just standing there or sitting there and just looking at you saying, "Hi son, let's get freaky." That is, nope, the heck out of there. You gotta sell the house, burn it down, just take it as a loss, go bankrupt if you need to. This part might be dark, but here's the rest of the story. Years later, I looked up the address and found that an old couple lived there for many years right before we moved in. Apparently, the house was broken into and the old woman was raped and murdered. Oh, what the The old man sold the house and moved. We were the first occupants since the incident. What the Come on, that's not right, is it? You would definitely know if that happened, wouldn't you not? Would you not research the house before you move in? I would. I'll definitely search the address. We only lived there for about a year. My parents swear we moved so quickly because we got a better deal on another house nearby. Yeah, nobody moves in 1 year. But we know it was because the house was haunted, and the priest they brought in to bless the place told them we should move. No joke. This could be real. It feels legit. Everything about it kind of feels legit. Anyways, theatre, I hardly know her. In college, I was part of a drama club and we used a 100-plus-year-old opera house in downtown Biddeford, Minnesota? I don't know. Sorry, I'm not from America. As our theatre. So I was there alone doing work on the set for the next show, and of course being in a theatre alone is creepy as it gets anyway. This theatre was old enough to have the wooden walkways above the stage that went from one side to the other. As I'm painting, I could have sworn I heard someone run across them multiple times. I tried to block it out, but that is nearly impossible. Just as I'm about to finish, I hear something fall from the stage. Even though I couldn't find anything, it convinced me enough that I was done for the day. Apparently, there's a story of a ghost of an opera singer that died there in Halloween. Before that, I never believed in ghosts. I mean, it could be anything. It could be a cat, for all I know. The running, though, because footsteps and running, distinctive bop, 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 bop sound, right? Something falling, heck, my stuff, my home, stuff falls all the time. There's wind, there's dog, whatever. Bloody possums, bats. So it's a meh. That's a maybe it's real, maybe it's not. Who knows? Kitchen nightmares. I can't believe it. There's 9 stories and it's actually all pretty entertaining. Anyways, kitchen nightmares. Okay, get ready for this story. So I was closing up the bar one night after a long shift as I was carrying a rack of glasses into the kitchen. I slipped on the wet floor. I just mopped, fell to the floor, and let out an instinctual ah! Immediately after as I'm sitting on the wet floor, I hear a low pitch moan. It was so audible that I actually thought it was a real person. This was startling considering I was the only person left in the bar. I stood up completely frozen and yelled, "Hello!" Again, immediately I hear the same low-pitched moan, except this time it was louder. Now I'm starting to freak out a little bit, but for whatever reason I decided to walk closer to where I heard the sound coming from. I yelled very loudly, "Hello?" For the 3rd time I heard a very loud, low-pitched moan. That was it for me. I ran back to the kitchen, grabbed the biggest kitchen knife I could find, because that seemed like logical at the time. That made perfect sense. Grabbed my purse, ran out the door, and never looked back again. It was funny trying to explain to the chef the next day why he was missing a knife during his morning prep. The creepiest part, I came to find out there was some sort of accident that had occurred in the restaurant years before with the son of the owner, and word around town was that he died right there in the bar. True freaking story. Probably, yeah. Low pitch moan. What is a low pitch moan though? Because a lot of sounds can be, equivalent to a moan. So what's a moan? Is that a moan? What if someone was underneath the bar and they just hurt themselves? It's like, oh, help me, bitch. Why are you running away? Why are you getting a knife? Oh, help me. Probably a real story. Who knows? It's not that scary though. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and my roommate is giggling and I am playing with my hair, and in the morning she doesn't remember. Okay, that's not a ghost story, that is just creepy. Like really creepy. You can't be in the same room with that person. Seriously, bro. What the hell? Please stop moving the kitchen table. Okay, my house was fraught with weird stuff happening when we first moved in. The kitchen table would move overnight 12 to 18 inches. 12 to 18 inches? What's 12 to, just say 15 inches to, oh my god, that's like 40 centimeters? That's like this much. That's what she said. That's like this much. How? That's huge. My keys would disappear and show up in the weirdest place, like my quilt trunk. My son Christopher went into the basement and things came flying off the shelf at him. He also saw someone walking on our wraparound porch once, but no one was there. So it's a poltergeist. Is it poltergeist? Is that what it's called? So like a ghost that's physically moving stuff and physically appearing. The most obvious one was a few years ago. Twice this happened. I was sweeping the kitchen floor. The door to the porch started shaking uncontrollably. It was like someone was trying to open the door without turning the knob. It lasted about 15 seconds. Keep in mind this was a wraparound porch, completely enclosed. I knew it was bad because my dogs, who will bark at a butterfly flying past the window, looked at the door and stepped back. Both times it happened, I was doing the same thing about the same time at night. So the door, so when he's mopping the floors, the kitchen floor, the door just goes crazy. Weird. Both times it was like that, they said. By the way, as a side note, I walked in the kitchen table one night while going to the bathroom. It was not the first time I walked into the kitchen table because it was moved. So I just said, please stop moving the kitchen table, and it never moved again. So maybe that's how you stop a ghost, huh? Just say, please stop doing this. We're sharing a house, kind of like a roommate, right? You gotta tell your roommate what's wrong. If you live with someone and they're not doing the dishes, they're leaving the cups everywhere, you gotta say, Karen, please, you gotta start cleaning your stuff, man. I'm not your slave. I can't just clean your stuff for you. I'm not washing your undies anymore. Please do it yourself. And maybe the ghost will stop. This is a plausible ghost story, I can say, because I don't know, I do believe there are ghosts and spirits, so I just want to make sure that people can relate to a real story and something else. Orb, you glad I said banana. Okay, interesting story title. I have a photo of a ghost from the Queen Mary in Long Beach, Sea, California. The ship is notoriously haunted. Something about a collision, sorry, jeez, I can't speak, with a Russian submarine in World War I or II. I went there in junior high with some friends and we found an old ballroom that had weird vibes. We were dancing around and playing in there. My friend's mom took some photos. When we got them developed, there were orbs. Even a ghostly hand showed up in one of them. I was also in New Orleans this time last year. We stayed in a house at St. Charles built in the 1800s. My fiance saw a ghost twice in the house. So this sounds like a Me Too type of story. You know, sometimes when you're telling ghost stories and then you'll have a friend that'll be like, yeah, I saw one too. Yeah, I was there and I saw 2 ghosts. Yeah, but what's the story? What, like, just saw 2 ghosts? It just happened? Where? Which room? Did it say hi? What did it look like? What were they doing? It's definitely a Me Too ghost story, this one. So it's fake. What do you think? What do you guys think? You know, I'll leave a link to this this article so that you can check it out yourself. But what do you guys think about this segment? Leave a comment. Tell me if you like doing this. Do you have ghost stories? Maybe send me some and then I'll read it. I'll do a live reading and I'll tell you if it's real or fake. And you know, let me know if this is like something you want to see ongoing. I might make it into series. Oh gosh. I might make it into a series if it's good. If it gets the good reception, but otherwise I guess you guys should smash the like button if you like it. Smash the like button if you like it. I have no idea why I said that twice in almost a deja vu. Tickle the dislike button if you dislike this. Remember to leave me a comment, tell me what you think about this, because I'm looking for different segments instead of just playing games all the time. But otherwise, you guys should keep smiling and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!